So this is another write a program question. It's worth 7 points. So we've got an array with fruits in, or a list as it is in Python. So banana, apple, orange, pear, grape, and pineapple. So they're already done for us. So always the best thing to do is to read the question really carefully. So program should get the user to enter a word and perform a linear search. So linear search is where we look at each thing in turn and see whether it's the same as the item that we're looking for. So bullet point number 1, ask the user what word they'd like to find. So let's call it fruit to find. Fruit to find equals input. And we don't have to put anything in there in the exam. You can, if you were writing this program, you'd no doubt enter fruit to find in there, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You still get the marks for doing the input. So then what we have to do is output true or false, depending if it's found or not. So we could use a variable to do that. So we look at a variable called, let's call it found, and we make that false. So we've set up that variable now to make it false, so it'll change it to true if we find something that we're looking for in the array. So there's a few ways of doing it. You could do a for loop using for I in range, and then use the index numbers 0, 1, 2, etc. if you wanted to. You could do a while loop and say while found is false and the end of the list hasn't occurred, but that's a bit more tricky. It's much easier to think about a for each item in the list structure. So if we say for each fruit in fruits, so this is going to take out the actual word. First of all, banana, then apple, then orange, then pear, then grape, then pineapple. So for each fruit in fruits, if each fruit, which is the item we're taking, is equivalent to fruit to find, then if they are the same, then we've found something we want to find. So found equals true. And then after this loop, we could actually just print out found if we wanted to, or we could add another little statement and say if found equals true, print true, else print false. So that'll give us all the marks, I think, for this one. So we've got the indent correct here for this structure, and this if statement is outside the for loop, which is what we need. So when we've looked through everything, we'll know whether found is true or found is not true. So we're going to get marks for the first 2 lines for design, just for getting an input, for setting a variable. We're going to get a mark for using some kind of loop structure here. We're going to mark for doing the correct comparisons and looking at each one in turn. And we'll get a mark for outputting correctly as well. So we did the whole of that thing fairly straightforward. It's always best in these things in the exam to try doing the simplest method, the most straightforward. And seeing as we used found as a Boolean, we could have just printed the Boolean value at the end if we wanted to, and that would have also been fine. That would have worked.